They say Eden was lost. But what if it simply drifted out to sea? This is Seychelles, an archipelago of 115 islands, where granite boulders rise like sculptures from white sand shores, where ancient palms cradle the world's heaviest seeds, and giant tortoises roam like relics of a forgotten world. There are no ancient temples, no indigenous tribes. Here, forests remember the age of giants. Granite rises from water so blue it feels imagined, and trees thought extinct somehow returned. This is a place where nature speaks in riddles through stones older than the Himalayas and owls that call only on moonless nights. This is not just a journey to paradise, it's a journey to the edge of memory. Some say this is the Garden of Eden, and once you see what's hidden here, you might believe it too. The plane touches down, but you don't feel like you've arrived. You feel like you've drifted somewhere else entirely. They call it an island nation, but Seychelles is barely land at all. It's a constellation of islands in the Indian Ocean, spread wide across 1.35 million square kilometers of sea. Barely tethered to one another or to the modern world. That's an area larger than France, yet less than 1,000 square kilometers is land. In truth, Seychelles is 99% water. The other 1% holds one of Earth's rarest blueprints for life. Only 33 of its islands are inhabited. The rest? Coral fragments. Wind-polished granite. Echoes of a prehistoric world. But this place isn't just remote, it's ancient. Unlike most island chains formed by volcanic eruptions, the core of Seychelles is made of exposed granite. The only mid-ocean granite islands in the world. These boulders are not born from lava. They are bones of a lost continent. Seychelles was once part of Gondwana, a supercontinent that split and scattered its pieces 75 million years ago. And while the rest of the world shifted, collided, and evolved, these islands drifted alone. There were no humans here, no predators, no footsteps in the sand. Only evolution, writing its own story without interruption. That's why what remains here is so strange and so rare. A palm that births the world's heaviest seed. A tree thought extinct, rediscovered in the shadows. And giant tortoises who may have outlived entire empires. This is not a place shaped by myth. It is shaped by time, by erosion, by silence, by millions of years of wind, salt, and sun. Look closely and you'll see the Earth as it once was. Before cities, before noise, before memory. In a world accelerating into the future, Seychelles drifts backward. Not into the past, but into something deeper. A stillness, a clarity. But even here in this scattered archipelago, life gathers. And on one island, just 28 kilometers long, the pulse of an entire nation beats beside the sea. This is Mahé. Mahé, the beating heart in a nation made mostly of water. Mahé is the land that breathes. The largest of Seychelles' 115 islands, it holds nearly 90% of the population. A lush, mountainous shard just 28 kilometers long, where civilization clings to coastline and disappears into jungle. This is where most journeys begin, where the story gathers weight. At its center sits Victoria, one of the smallest capital cities in the world. Just 2 traffic lights, no skyscrapers, and yet the tempo of a capital still hums here. Stalls spill with mangoes, cassava, jackfruit. Fishermen unload red snapper at sunrise. Spices drift from open kitchens, and Creole echoes, soft, rhythmic, and real, float through the streets. French, African, Indian, Chinese, British, this island's past is a mosaic. But what's emerged is entirely its own. A living culture born of survival and sea. And beyond the town, wilderness. Mahé's interior is a spine of granite peaks veined with waterfalls and shrouded in mist. Here in Moyenne Seychelles National Park, you can stand in cloud forest, hear nothing but wind and wings. Then descend to a beach within the hour. Dozens of coves ring this island like pearls. Ansay Intendance, Ansay Royal, Baye Lazare. No two the same. Mahé is a contradiction, crowded and wild, ancient and alive. Mahé is not the edge of the wilderness. It's a place where the wild lives among us. But on a nearby island, the wild goes uninterrupted. In a forest older than any city, where the trees bear seeds the size of skulls and the air is thick with ancient breath, we step into Vallée de Mahé. Vallée de Mahé, the forest of giants. There are places where time slows, and then there are places where time stops. Vallée de Mahé on the island of Praslin is one of them. This forest has stood unchanged for tens of millions of years. It survived the rise and fall of empires, of oceans, of entire species. Here, evolution paused long enough for the world to forget and for the forest to remember. Step inside, and the light narrows to a green, filtered hush. Towering palms sway above, their fronds as wide as wings. The air is dense, earthy, humid, alive. This is the only place on Earth where the Coco de Mer grows wild. It is the heaviest seed in the plant kingdom, shaped like no other and weighing up to 42 kilograms. Its growth is glacial. It can take 25 years to mature and 7 more to bear fruit. It's not just rare, it's improbable. The forest around it is equally surreal. Curved trunks, prehistoric ferns, orchids hiding in the shadows. And the Seychelles black parrot, a bird found only here, caws with a voice like a distant flute. In 1983, Vallée de Mahé was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, not for its beauty, but for what it protects. A living fragment of a lost world. To walk through Vallée de Mahé is to step back into Earth's raw blueprint. a version of nature before interference. But far beyond Praslin's ridges, across open ocean and coral reef, there's another forest. One even more remote, a place where no roads lead, and 150,000 tortoises roam free. Its name is whispered by the tide, Aldabra. Aldabra Atoll, the Forgotten Kingdom. Few places are as hard to reach or as impossible to forget as Aldabra. It lies nearly 1,000 kilometers southwest of Mahé, closer to Madagascar than to mainland Seychelles. No airport, no permanent tourism, just sea, salt and time. This is the second largest coral atoll on Earth. A ring of islands surrounding a vast blue lagoon untouched by modern development. No humans ever lived here long. It's too dry, too wild, too far. But nature endured. Today, over 150,000 giant tortoises roam Aldabra, the largest wild population on the planet. They move slowly, each step the echo of deep time. Some are over 100 years old, each one a living monument to a quieter world. The atoll itself rises barely above sea level, a delicate rim of fossilized coral and scrub forest. Its tides are extreme, flooding and draining the lagoon twice a day, revealing fields of seagrass, reef channels, and shoals of fish that flicker like liquid glass. Above, seabirds circle in thousands. Below, sea turtles nest. Sharks, rays, and parrotfish patrol the coral. Aldabra is not paradise. It's not gentle or curated or comfortable. It is real. And in that rawness lies something sacred. A glimpse of Earth before it bent to human hands. But not every island had the luxury of isolation. Some, like Curieuse, were scarred by history, then slowly brought back to life. From leper colony to bioreserve. This is the story of how nature remembers itself. Curieuse Island. From isolation to renewal. Just off the coast of Praslin lies a red-soiled island with a haunted past. This is Curieuse. 2.9 square kilometers of raw land once marked by exile, now known for hope. In the 19th century, it was chosen as a leper colony, removed from society, out of sight. Ruins still stand. Stone walls buried in vines, the remnants of lives spent in forced silence. But nature here never stopped working. When the colony closed in 1965, Curieuse was wounded. Its forests scarred by fire. Its soil stripped, its future uncertain. So Seychelles made a choice: to let the land recover. Today, Curieuse is a protected bioreserve, a second chance at balance. The island is now home to more than 300 giant tortoises, relocated from Aldabra. Their domed shells grazing through the grass, free to roam in the wild. The vibrant red earth is now wrapped in green again, thanks to native species like the Coco de Mer and the tireless work of conservation teams restoring mangroves, dunes and coral fringes. Its beaches, like Anse St. Joseph, are quiet sanctuaries, where sea turtles nest under moonlight, and hermit crabs trace spirals in the sand. On foot, trails wind through old casuarina groves and elevated boardwalks pass above swaying mangroves, where roots knit water to land and baby reef sharks dart through the shadows. Curieuse is a reminder that even damaged ground can hold life again. That healing is slow, but possible. And if Curieuse shows how nature can forgive, then La Digue shows how it can still whisper. In coconut groves, silent shores, and roads without engines. An island where time doesn't move forward, but simply drifts. La Digue, where time slows. There are islands that dazzle, and there are islands that breathe. La Digue does neither loudly. It simply whispers. Just a short ferry from Praslin, this is the 4th largest island in Seychelles. Home to just over 2,000 people. But it feels like fewer. There's no airport, few cars, no rush. Bicycles glide past breadfruit trees. Ox carts still roll through the dusty lanes, not out of necessity, but memory. Time moves differently here. Slower, softer, measured by tides, not calendars. Most visitors come here for one reason. And Source d'Argent is one of the most photographed beaches on Earth. And still, no image does it justice. Granite boulders rounded by eons emerge like sculptures from golden sand. Shallow turquoise water laps at their base. Sheltered by a coral reef so close the waves barely whisper. On quiet paths inland, you'll find old vanilla plantations overgrown with tropical green. And in the island's trees, a treasure once thought lost. The Seychelles paradise flycatcher. A jet black bird with a tail that trails like ribbon. La Digue isn't frozen in time. It simply refuses to race. And in that refusal, it offers something radical. A life in tune with land, light, and water. But across a narrow channel, another island waits. Larger, wilder, caught between forest and sea. Where jungle presses against beach, and every footstep reveals something rare. This is Praslin. Praslin, the lush middle world. Between the wild quiet of La Digue and the urban rhythm of Mahé, there's an island that balances both. This is Praslin. At just 38 square kilometers, Praslin is the second largest island in Seychelles. But what it holds feels far bigger. Forests stretch down ridgelines. Beaches arc like silver crescents. Villages emerge slowly, never too many, never too loud. And in the space between land and sea, life flourishes. Praslin is home to Vallée de Mahé, that ancient palm forest where the Coco de Mer grows, its seeds still nestled in the jungle shadows. But beyond the forest canopy, Praslin reveals its other face, the coastal world. On the northwestern edge lies Anse Lazio, often named among the most beautiful beaches on Earth. It earns that title quietly. Powder fine sand, turquoise water so clear it glows. and massive granite boulders look like ancient bones piercing through the shore. There's no reef here, no barrier between swimmer and sea. The water deepens fast, and that wildness feels honest. Just offshore, snorkeling reveals a different kind of forest. Reefs blooming with coral, turtles passing by like gentle shadows, and reef sharks slipping between schools of fish. Farther inland, you'll find roadside fruit stalls, fishermen mending nets, and locals speaking in the calm musicality of Creole. If Seychelles is a nation shaped by contrast, Praslin is its most perfect compromise. A place where wildness and welcome still hold hands. But even in places like this, some islands remain more mystery than memory. One of them lies just offshore. Tiny, overgrown, guarded by legends of ghosts, buried treasure, and one man who lived alone among the whispers. This is Moyenne Island. Moyenne Island, ghosts and legends. Just 5 kilometers from Victoria, in the protected waters of St. Anne Marine National Park, lies an island barely half a square kilometer in size. It doesn't look like much, a hump of green in a shallow sea, but Moyenne Island is a story all its own. For centuries, pirates were said to have hidden treasure here. The most famous, Olivier Levasseur Labousse, left a coded message behind before his execution. Some believe it points to this very island. Others say the place is haunted by the ghost of a long-dead Englishwoman named Mary Best, and spirits who guard the buried gold. But Moyenne's greatest story isn't from legend. It's from a man named Brendan Grimshaw. In 1962, Grimshaw bought the island for £8,000. It had been abandoned for decades. No water, no electricity, no residents. So he moved in alone and stayed. For over 40 years, he planted trees. Over 16,000 of them. He reintroduced giant tortoises, cleared walking trails, and transformed the island into a personal sanctuary for both wildlife and wonder. When developers came knocking with million-dollar offers, he refused. Grimshaw's only goal was to protect it, and he did, until his death in 2012. Today, Moyenne is the world's smallest national park. No resorts, no villas, just birdsong, banyan trees, and the slow movement of tortoises. Moyenne proves that sometimes paradise isn't inherited, it's created. One step, one seed, one soul at a time. But beyond Moyenne's quiet cove, the sea itself holds its own wilderness. Beneath the surface. In the marine parks that surround it, life blooms in currents and color. Seychelles is 99% ocean. And what's hidden below may be even more fragile than what's above. Marine parks, the sea's secret garden. Above the waves, Seychelles is scattered. Granite, sand, green. But beneath the surface, it becomes something else entirely. A continuous world. A breathing one. Over 99% of this nation is ocean. And within it, reefs, meadows, mangroves, and miles of life most will never see. Protected areas like St. Anne Marine National Park, Curieuse Marine Reserve, and Bay Tournai form a living patchwork of underwater wilderness. Coral gardens bloom in every color. branching, brain-like, pulsing with fish. Parrotfish nibble at the reef. Turtles glide through seagrass, and reef sharks patrol the drop-offs like shadows made flesh. Just beneath a boat's hull, entire ecosystems shift with the light. Some places, like Ansford Bands, are shallow and gentle, perfect for children learning to snorkel. Others dive steep and dark, where divers drop into silence and mystery. The ocean here is not just backdrop, it is foundation. It feeds, protects, and shapes the islands themselves. And yet, even paradise has its limits. Climate change has already begun to bleach some coral beds. Ocean acidification weakens the very structures life depends on. Tourism, when unchecked, can damage what it seeks to admire. But there is hope too. Seychelles has pioneered marine conservation finance, trading debt relief for reef protection, and mapping vast stretches of sea for preservation. Local guides educate. Marine biologists monitor. Fishermen adapt their methods. This is not just sea, it's a hidden garden. One that blooms beneath our notice and breaks the moment we stop caring. But perhaps the most fragile thing of all is not the reef, or the forest, or the tortoise. It is our understanding of what Eden really is. And before we leave this island nation, we return to the shore, one final time, to listen, to reflect, to remember. Return to Eden. We came looking for paradise, and we found it in fragments. In a tortoise older than many alive. In seeds heavier than stone. In islands that broke away from the world but never stopped evolving. We found it in granite older than the Himalayas. In forests that remember dinosaurs. In reefs that bloom unseen until you dive beneath the noise. We walked through silence, felt the breath of wild things, and realized paradise was never meant to be perfect, just real. In Seychelles, Eden isn't a myth. It's a mosaic. Rough-edged, weathered, and breathing. It's in the choices made to protect instead of extract, to plant instead of pave, to let nature be more than backdrop, to let it speak. And what it says is simple. We were here before you. We will outlast you. But only if you let us. Brendan Grimshaw understood this. So did the forests of Vallée de Mahé. And the turtles on Aldabra who never asked for applause, just time and space. This is Eden, not as a destination, but as a question. What will we choose to remember? What will we choose to protect? Because paradise is not lost, it's fragile. And it's waiting, sometimes in the silence between waves, in the shade of a breadfruit tree, or in the eyes of a tortoise that has already seen us come and go. If you ever eat breadfruit in Seychelles, they say you'll return one day. Maybe that's not a myth. Maybe it's a promise. Because Eden, true Eden, never really leaves you. Once seen, you can carry it.